It's a spiky wooden or metal pyramid. After this, the person was slowly seated on the pyramid's sharp point. Horrific anatomy.
I'm black. What do you think they would have done to me? I would have been cooked, fried, and shipped in a box. They would have ate my black with some barbecue sauce if he even had some back then.
Is the oubliette. The most influential Vestals who had broken their virginity pledge were sentenced to death.
So you're telling me you get punished like this if you lost your virginity? If I'm in the medieval times and a girl wanna throw some on me, go crazy. But you're getting this oubliette though. Are you one of those weird people who went on Live Leak or just a bunch of other weird websites? Then you probably think you're desensitized to a lot of shit, or you think you've seen it all. I bet you didn't see these torture methods from your pioneers. Today we're watching a video about comparisons of the most painful punishments.
Tickling you. In ancient China, this was the primary method of punishing delinquents from noble families, since tickles didn't leave any traces of torture on the body, and the victim was able to recover quite fast if the procedure didn't go too far, of course. In European countries, goats were employed as a torture device. The culprit was tied up, and salty water was poured on their feet to make the animal lick them. What's so bad about that? It's just that there's an incredible number of nerve endings in the feet, and the goat's rough tongue would irritate them quite a lot. So, after a few hours, the tickling starts inducing not just laughter, but also painful muscle contractions.
What in the fetish is this? Talking about tickling. I remember I was working at the airport and this lady walked past me and she said, "You need to smile. Here comes the tickle monster." I was like, get your hands off me. It's quite literally one of the weirdest experiences of my life. I'm just thinking in my head, imagine if the roles were reversed. Man will be doing 40 years. So don't tickle me, don't do nothing. And low-key, I can see how tickling could be a torture. I don't know, tickling is weird as hell.
Lose virtually all control over your body, which causes extreme stress, anxiety, and exhaustion. Moreover, the nerve endings responsible for reacting to tickles also signalize pain. It's just that if we're being tickled,
put salt water on your feet just so they can see people
doesn't go beyond laughter and light sensations in the body. However, if done for hours, this causes the nervous system such overload that the lightest touch causes unbearable physical pain. Now imagine that it's not your feet being tickled, it's your private parts. In India, interrogation of criminals was accompanied by placing a small bug on the culprit's genitals and covering the insect with a walnut shell.
Do not touch my genitalia. You see anything with fingernails, genitalia, eyeballs? I would have turned to Kratos and I would have got to split it all y'all with. I would have went berserk. Yo, the medieval times was weird as shit. What happened to the regular torture? The whiplash, breaking fingernails. If you want to see any type of torture involve any type of private parts, then you're just a freak. You was 69. God.
The constant irritation of super sensitive areas caused by the bug's movements made the torture unbearable very quickly. And the executioners got any confession they wanted.
Oh my God,
eventually, tickle torture would result in death by asphyxiation if the victim developed a throat spasm caused by uncontrollable laughter. Other possible outcomes were cardiac arrest or a brain aneurysm provoked by serious stress.
This is so weird.
Yet on the pain scale, tickle torture got only 32 points since the suffering it brought was mostly psychological.
Only 32 points? So there's a scale for this? What's the scale out of 100? Torture's torture in my opinion. Me watching some of the new degenerate content creators, that should get #1 on this list. Because that is actually too painful to watch.
The Chinese water torture. At first, the person was immobilized, and then cold water would slowly drip onto their face or head. Gradually, the constant skin irritation caused by the drops and splashes would make the nervous system hypersensitive. The inability to move and the wait for the next drop would literally start driving the person insane. This is messed up. You've even seen this torture in movies. Here's the paradox though. There's no proof that it was ever used in China. This kind of torture was first described by an Italian lawyer on the cusp of the 16th century. In the mid-18th century, German and French doctors attempted to use this method to cure mental disorders. Moreover, the very term Chinese water torture came into active use owing to a trick by the legendary Harry Houdini.
Yo, what in the base mentality is this? So you telling me if someone's going through a mental madness, you're gonna strap them up to a chair, drop water on their foreheads? That's gonna cure the mental illness? What mentality is this? It's really crazy to see how times have changed, because wow, either we got very soft or this is very ironic and they were mentally not okay in the head. Because if you really think about it, think about the old days. It was pretty messed up, a lot of wrong things happening, and now come back to the future. Messed up, a lot of wrong things happening. I feel like the world is just never really gonna be a good place.
Does the water drop torture actually work? Since it can look harmless at first glance, a few bloggers have dared to try it out themselves.
I don't like this.
The water drop torture was also tested by the Mythbusters. All participants knew they were actually perfectly safe and could be freed at any moment. Yet everyone went through a hellish experience. At first, the experimenters suffered from cold, thirst, psychological tension, and physical discomfort. Then their entire bodies started aching, and breathing problems arose. It all ended in a panic and desperate pleas to be released.
That is the worst.
In addition, after this episode, the Mythbusters received an anonymous letter whose authors reportedly found out that the Chinese water torture may cause mental issues that persist for 20 hours. So on the pain scale, the water drop torture received 40 points, and a huge question as to whether it was actually used in practice. At least because it was replaced by much crueler kinds of water torture.
That's something for your mind to digest on later. I did not know dropping water on your forehead could be such damaging to the mind. Then again, it is water. You drink it to survive, you use it to clean yourself, you could drown by it. Water is really what you make it. No cap, I'm gonna have to take some of these methods because I have a lot of people I need to use this on.
The Swedish drink. This name was invented by the Germans.
The Swedish
During
drink?
the 30 Years' War, they became victims
be
of
sweet,
the Swedish
right?
army servicemen, mercenaries, or marauders.
The Swedish
This method of
drink?
torture went as follows.
I love sweet.
Through a funnel, the perpetrators would pour buckets of the most disgusting liquids imaginable into the victim's throat.
That's not
They
sweet.
used everything from urine and filth to manure. Not only did the victims feel disgust and humiliation from being subjected to the Swedish drink, they also contracted deadly diseases. Furthermore, their stomachs stretched, causing horrific pain. The perpetrators would often use wooden planks to put pressure on the victim's bloated belly, or hit it with sticks to deepen the suffering. So, on the pain scale, the Swedish drink got 46 points out of the possible 140. Very often,
That's so bad.
ranged from public humiliation, accompanied by
I
intense
regret watching this video.
discomfort, to a
Urine, feces, other random liquids. I cry if I drink white milk. I hate white milk. That shit tastes funny. I want to drink chocolate or strawberry milk. You're telling me you're drinking piss, shit water, anything and anything under the sun? I'm so happy I'm born in this generation because I always believe that God puts you in certain situations that you can handle. No, I cannot handle this.
was the cane. It's a large board consisting of two halves with a hole between them, used to keep the device on a person's neck. The cane wasn't secured in any way, so the culprit had to support the board with their hands and balance it while walking. To intensify the punishment, the person in a cane could also be chained, stopping them from ever sitting down. Moreover, the cane's parameters would change according to the severity of the punishment. It could weigh anywhere from 9 to 15 kilograms and have a square, rectangular, or disproportionate, irregular shape. Sometimes they were even double or triple.
Look at these
Often a
bald-ass
cane would be
niggas.
so large that the victim would be unable to touch their face to eat or drink. If they weren't
Damn.
helped by those who cared, the victim would die.
What
a
in the
slow death,
medieval
hunger, and
ass?
thirst. Yet the cane was also used as an execution device. The convict was placed inside a tall cage made specifically for this purpose. A cane would be secured above. Then, a prop would be taken from under the victim's feet, and they would slowly be strangled with the board on their neck.
This is worse than
That's how
hanging
people were
yourself.
executed
This
in
is worse than
China
hanging.
as recently as 1900, suffering excruciating pain. On the pain scale, cane torture
These
sits at
people are
62
worse than
points.
live league watchers.
However,
I ain't gonna lie, people can watch this with ease. Yo, y'all niggas are worse than live league watchers. This is y'all pioneers. These are your big bros. Back in the day, I did not know y'all niggas could be this creative with torture. How the hell y'all thinking of this? This is very creative. This is very specific and circumstantial. Bro, what happened to hanging yourselves, breaking our fingers, stabbing the eye? These are regular torture things. We need help.
Europeans during the Middle Ages were especially creative in their acts of cruelty. It was then that they invented and actively used
I'm learning a lot
contraption
from this
called
video. I didn't
the
even know
Judas
none of this.
It's a
Judas
spiky
what?
wooden or metal pyramid secured on a support with a special clamp over it. First, the victim's arms and legs were tied, and then their trunk
Okay, of
was
course.
secured with a metal ring attached to the
course.
ceiling or the wall with ropes. After this, the person was slowly seated on the pyramid's sharp point. I won't go into the horrific anatomical details, since it's clear anyway that the process caused unbearable pain. Moreover, such torture could go on for days. If the executioners wanted to receive a confession or other information, but the victim remained silent, they tied weights to their arms and legs, causing the pyramid edges to gnaw at the poor person's body even more. As if that wasn't enough, the Judas cradle was never cleaned, so it became the breeding ground for deadly bacteria. So, even if the victims managed to survive, they often died of infections. At any rate, they remained scarred physically
That's
and psychologically
horrific.
for the rest of their lives. That's why the Judas cradle received 79 points on the pain scale.
That's just over half? So what the hell is 140? Bro, this really makes you appreciate what you got in life and where you're at your life. Things could have been rough. Ain't no me, I'm black. What do you think they would have done to me? I would have been cooked, fried, and shipped in a box. They would have ate my black ass with some barbecue sauce. They didn't even have some back then.
The first device to go beyond 100 in our list is the oubliette. It's a horizontal
The
tunnel
oubli-
with the only
googly,
way
great
out in the
googly
form of a
moogly.
grated opening above, used as a dungeon. Often, it was so narrow that the prisoners couldn't even sit down. Moreover, oubliettes were built right there in the castle so that the victims could hear human voices and smell food, causing them even more psychological suffering. Yet, the real torture was the fact that the prisoners were literally forgotten about
can't
in
do
these
it, bro.
holes, and they slowly died of thirst, hunger, exhaustion, and infections. Compared to this, a Judas cradle execution was a
I think I
swift
heard
way to
about
relieve
this.
one's
It's
suffering.
like some
The
movie
oubliette
shit.
is a kind of immurement,
Just throw 'em in a
which has
ditch
been
or something?
practiced since ancient times on all continents.
So starvation,
In the
right?
Roman Empire, the most influential Vestals who had broken their virginity pledge were sentenced to death. It was against the law to shed their blood, though, so they were immured alive.
So you tell me a lot of girls nowadays, especially the OnlyFans girls, will get the oubliette? So you're telling me you get punished like this if you lost your virginity? You broke your celibacy? I'm sorry. I'll never do it again. Be gone. This video is hilarious. But let the girls get some dick, bro. If I'm in the medieval times and a girl wanna throw some ass on me, go crazy. But you're getting this oubliette though.
If you think this insane practice remained in days past, you're wrong. In Mongolia, this barbaric execution method was still in use until at least
damn, that girl
1913.
looks mess.
So immurement in its different variations receives 108 points on the pain scale. But what if you're not alone?
Who
in this
determines the
closed
point
space?
system?
Then it's an entirely different kind of punishment. Rat torture. As far back as in the 1st century AD,
I heard about
the
this.
cruelest emperor in the history of the
like
Roman
bite
Empire,
you or something? Hey?
Nero, used rats to torture those who fell out of favor. They say he put the victim into a barrel with hungry rats who quickly ate the person alive. In India, they made criminals wear wide pants, which were first tied around the ankles and then filled with rodents. Any ideas as to which body parts suffered the most and how painful it was? However, medieval torturers took it even further. They tied the victims down to immobilize them, then placed a bottomless cage on their abdomens and filled it with rats. Then they put hot wood coal on the grates, and the rats became unbearably hot. First, they tried gnawing at the cage in desperate attempts
Did they try
to
eating the
escape.
stomach or something?
Later, though, the rats realized they were standing on a soft human body and started eating their way out through it.
Oh, my ass would have turned into Broly. I would have busted up and like, what in the psychotic, deranged, sickening shit is this? Once again, how the hell y'all think of this? Is this because y'all had no cable?
The cage was put on the victim's head, near the mouth, or other body parts.
Oh, you're
I'll let
kissing
your
a rat.
imagination fill in the details.
You're kissing
the
a
most horrible
rat.
thing is probably the fact that in South American countries,
You know what I
rat
would have
torture
done? I would
wasn't used until the
have bite the head off or
1980s.
something. I don't
It
know,
received 112 points on the pain scale. It would seem that there's nothing worse than this. But before we get to the most horrifying
What is
tortures that
worse?
scored the maximum of 140 points, there are still 2 more devices. The first of which is the rack. This is another deadly invention of the Middle Ages.
The
It
rack?
looked like a wooden frame with rollers
Oh,
on
I know,
both
and they
ends.
stretch you out.
The
Yeah,
person's limbs were tied
that's...
to them, and when the torturers
They
would
stretch,
start
yeah,
turning
this
the
one's
rollers,
bad.
the victim's arms and legs would stretch in
Oh.
different directions. This caused unbearable pain due to joint
thought your
displacement,
ass is-
muscle and ligament
Oh,
ruptures.
you thought you
and,
getting taller.
in the most
You
horrific
thought you getting
cases,
taller.
even bone fractures. The executioners could torture the victim like this for hours or even days to beat the confession or the necessary information out of them. Sometimes, a specifically trained person would supervise the victim's condition to keep them conscious and alive before a specific time. So, it's unsurprising that just threatening someone
God.
to send them to the rack would often be enough to obtain the necessary information. This horrible type of torture received 116 points on the pain scale, the Brazen Bull. According to stories, it was built by an Athenian named Perilos as a commission for a Sicilian
Bull? Anything
pirate,
on bull?
Faller.
I can't do bulls. I cannot do bulls. You know how aggressive they are? You see that sharp ass horn? No, don't touch me there. This is my no-no square. Like, I'm not doing that. And fun fact, every cow's a girl. When I found that shit out, my mind was broken. I did not know that.
It was a hollow copper statue of a bull with a hatch on its side. A person would be pushed inside. The hatch
Oh,
would
it's
be
not
shut,
real?
and then the torturers would start a fire under the bull's belly.
Ooh.
Furthermore, the statue's nostril structure made the victim's scream sound like the bull's bellow. Yet this barbarism was apparently not enough. So after the execution, the victim's bones were used to make jewelry to then be
This
sold
makes
on markets.
death nice.
The inventor of this hellish
I'll be like,
machine
just end
realized
it, bro.
very
End
quickly
me.
that doing
End me,
business
bro.
with tyrants
Please.
was a bad idea. Since the first person Fallers tried out the brazen bull on was Perilos himself. First, the man's skin started burning in the places where it touched the metal. Then, the hot air gradually burned his airways and lungs. He went on to slowly cook alive before choking to death or going unconscious. Before this, though, Perilos went through the agony that reached 130 points on the pain scale. Even
Who
this
is
horror
determining these
won't
points?
compare to the fate of those sentenced to Lingqi. It's definitely one of the most barbaric punishments in humanity's entire history, and it hails from Asia. It was used in China, Vietnam, and Korea right until
You
the
see
early
the-
20th
you see the
century
Asians use
to
it?
punish perpetrators
It
of the most
means
heinous
business.
crimes like mass murder and high treason, as well as to eradicate the emperor's personal enemies.
This makes you realize that the shit that we grew up seeing on Live League, the cartel videos, it's really nothing. We really thought we see some shit. Well, personally, I don't watch it because I couldn't stomach that type of stuff. You guys really thought you seen ball? Y'all don't even know about the program. These guys are the real pioneers and they've been doing this since day 0, not even day 1. This is some sandbox activities. What in the mad scientist? If you do this, and you do this, I had people who specific.
A few torturers would slowly cut pieces of flesh out of the convict's arms, legs, and chest. We know from historical records that during Lingqi, the victim would suffer from 100 to 3,000 wounds. That's why this torture is also dubbed death by 1,000 cuts. Although the experts state that with such wounds, a person would most likely
That's
die within
real?
20 minutes. Sometimes the families of the
I
victims
thought that
would
showed some
bribe the
Kakashi from
executioners to
Naruto.
inflict a deadly wound right away. This wouldn't remove the victim's physical pain, but it's worth remembering that for the Chinese, Ling Chi was also a spiritual punishment. According to their beliefs, this disfigurement of the body wouldn't allow the victim to be whole and healthy naturally.
Bro,
This horrific execution method officially remained in use in China until 1905.
Let me know when it's done, guys.
This type of torture received the most points on the pain scale, 140.
These videos make masochists not like pain no more. Even though these are the worst torture methods in mankind, I still think my mom beating the shit out of me is worse than all of them. My ass was getting toasted, and my mom could have been in the UFC. But if you messed with the video, please show some love to the kid. I'm keep pushing, I'm gonna keep it going. I do be live on Twitch, and I also got Discord. Follow my socials. I like, comment, subscribe. If you mess with me, show the love.